What's up, guys? Welcome to the Chess Giant. This is Solomon Riddell. I hope y'all are having a great day. And really in today's video, we're going to be answering a pretty common question that I get in the comment sections on YouTube, and that's concerning what to do when playing the Hippopotamus Defense if our opponent starts going crazy on the king side. We're talking 3-pawn attack, Austrian attack type setup, e4, d4, and the key move f4. White just launching their pawns down on the king side of the board. How do we respond in a situation like this? Right now, this used to really, kind of worry me a little bit that my opponent would play this. But if you know what to do, you're going to be more than okay. And actually, this past week, I played a bullet game against a grandmaster player who tried just that against me. Let's take a look. So we got the starting position here. My opponent here, Grandmaster David Klein, played this move of e4. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably know that I go into this 1, 2, and 3. This is not the only way to get into the Hippo, but in my opinion, this is the best one. It's hard to argue for a better one, right? I mean, I think, the move 1 b6 also works. I've seen some top players recommend that as well, but I really like prioritizing, kingside development. And I think in a situation like this, with white really launching, with a move like f4, it actually works out in our favor pretty well. By the way, if you haven't, been around for too long, for this channel, make sure to subscribe. Appreciate it. So here we got this move of e6 from black. I'm just playing normal, right? I'm just continuing with my game plan. And now we have bishop d3. White is making it very clear that they're trying to play this f5 move, right? Very clear. They're trying to prep that. Now the key here, the moment that you see f4, you cannot play knight d7. Please don't play that, because that cuts off your bishop from seeing the f5 square. We need to be very attentive to the fact that we need this bishop to see f5, and we need to play e6 followed by knight e7 immediately, so that we have 1, 2, 3 pawn/pieces defending this square. Now you're going to notice I didn't mention g6, and that was on purpose, because we never want to take with the g pawn. I mean, that's my rule. We'll go over that in a minute, but it's just, when you take with the g pawn, your pawn structure just gets absolutely obliterated on the king side. So I don't want to depend on this pawn. I want to depend on the pawn on e6 to capture, as well as my knight and my bishop on c8 to keep an eye on that f5 spot, right? Now, by the way, this move of bishop takes d4 here, this doesn't want a pawn. I mean, I guess it does for like half a second, but then white would play bishop b5 a check. And yeah, I could play knight c6 trying to defend my bishop, but it really doesn't defend it at all, because the knight is pinned, right, to the king on e8. So now I'm just down a piece or a pawn, and this is resignable. So bishop d3, make sure not to fall into that trap of taking that pawn. I play knight e7, okay? Notice how quickly I'm getting my king side pieces activated, and notice all of the attention I put on that f5 square, right? White here plays a move knight f3. I play b6. The point of b6 is to actually prepare a c5 push. Okay, now here's the idea, right? Let's say here white plays a move like f5. We're ready to go, right? We're playing e takes, right? Not g takes, but we're taking with the e pawn. And then after e takes, we have a knight and a bishop ready to go, right? In this case, we can capture back with either one. I'd probably take with the bishop first. And if bishop takes, knight takes. And okay, I mean, we're just up a pawn. White really doesn't have compensation for it. And yeah, I'm taking black here any day of the week. Okay, so we play this move b6. Notice we still have an eye on this square. Okay, we still have an eye on this square. We're ready to go. We are prepared. And okay, my opponent here plays the move castling kingside. Now here I play the move c5. And guys, I promise, I know the theory. Okay, I promise. All right. In fact, the second I played this, I went, oh my gosh, now I messed it up. Right, I didn't play perfectly. Now if I post it on YouTube, I'm gonna have to tell everyone that I messed up. I messed up. Okay, it was bullet. Forgive me. C5 is a good idea, but in this instance, we want to castle first, right? Castling first is better, because when you play c5, bishop b5 check here isn't winning, but it could kind of offer black some issues. And in general, this bishop b5 check option in certain lines and variations can be very troublesome for black to have to deal with, right? So it's just safe. It's safe to just castle kingside first. Now this may seem a little bit scary with all of these pawns, but again, we're totally okay here. f5 is not going to happen, right? With a pawn on e6, a knight on e7, and a bishop on c8 all ready to go. And if you play something like knight h4, trying to further prep it, okay, we take with check on d4. And notice as well, I mean, if we take on d4, if the knight runs away, really anywhere, there's never going to be tempo because our king's no longer on e8, which is very important. Let's see here white plays a move like bishop e3. Okay, first off, we're going to go over the mistake. Okay, the mistake here is leaving f5 with our bishop. The second we do this, white can play the move of f5. And now this pawn is putting pressure on g6, e6, and f6 as well. I mean, if white's able to play f6, I mean, that's just not good news, right? Obviously, they're not threatening it at the moment, but they could be the next turn or in the next few moves. So, I mean, this is just not fun. This is not a fun position for me, in my opinion. The computer says that we're good to take, and then even here, I mean, knight takes f5. Apparently, black is fighting here, but I hate this position. Okay, we're up a pawn, but I don't care because we have an isolated pawn and double isolated pawns, and this pawn on f5 in particular, I mean, I just feel like from a practical standpoint, I just don't know how we're going to hang on to this guy. I mean, talk about just a terrible position to defend, to defend our king with. I mean, we got two defenders on the king side, white currently with 3, and they can get more resources in pretty quickly. At some point, knight h4 could be an idea. Obviously not right now, but because of, the queen eyeing up that square. But yeah, I mean, this is not ideal. Okay, so we go back to bishop e3. Again, don't leave that square, right? We want to have our bishop eye that square so that the bishop can take, so that we don't have to take with the g-pawn, right? These are the 3 that we're really depending on against the 3-pawn center. And in the meantime, now that we've castled, okay, again, in the game I didn't castle, but, I should have. Now that we've castled, we can play c5. And we're going to start putting pressure on this pawn on d4. Now, this is going a little bit off of the regular Hippo. Usually in the Hippo, we're just playing here, and that's usually what we go with. But against this setup, it's not a great idea. Okay, I can tell you from firsthand experience. Here, we're going to play c5. Okay, c5, queen up, knight c6. Now we got 1, 2, and 3 pieces all crashing down on that pawn. If you want to take here, we capture back, right? There's a lot of different theory here. I mean, even if d5, we can actually just take, right? And if he takes knight b4, start making this guy a target. And notice, by the way, in this kind of instance, when this pawn gets distracted, f5 is a lot harder to pull off because it no longer has a pawn supporting it. We now have 2 minor pieces, defending that square. And yeah, I mean, if a move like bishop c4, we play bishop a6, right? Just offer up a trade for that very key defender. If bishop takes, we capture back with the knight. We now have ideas like queen d7, knight c7, knight f5 is a good idea. Rook e8. I mean, why not? I'm taking black here every time. I mean, this is the computer likes it, and I love it for black. I mean, this is a very hard position to play with as white. And if you compare pieces, I actually think our pieces are a lot better. I mean, this knight's ready to spring in. This knight might not look very good, but it's about to put pressure on d5. Our bishop is definitely better than their bishop. And, white just has a lot of weaknesses here. They really overextended their position, and they're going to pay for it. Okay, so again, back to the game, b6, right? White castles. Castling is the best move here for black. And by the way, all this kind of stuff, I cover it in depth in my Hippopotamus Defense chess course. If you're interested in investing in the course, which is over 6 hours in length, I put a lot of effort into it. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do invest in it, I'll leave a link to it down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. So just go down to the comment section, and the pinned comment will have a link to my course there. Okay. And I cover a lot of these ideas. 3 pawn centers, 4 pawn centers, all this kind of stuff, right? What happens if white, white plays the Hippo? What happens if they try to fianchetto both their bishops? All that kind of stuff. So that you're prepared for whatever comes your way, right? Now, the Hippo is not a theory-based opening. That's really not what the Hippo is about. We're not mainly studying theory all day long, but there are some setups that you need to be prepared for. This is one of them, okay? But okay, I play c5, and right when I play this, I'm like, oh, I should have castled first, right? But, I mean, black's still okay here. White takes, and in this case, I take towards the center of the board. And, okay, I mean, white, plays king h1, and I just continue to develop with knight c6. Notice the great grip that I have on that d4 square, right? Very centralized spot. And, I already got great control over one of the kind of sweet center squares, right? That square on d4. So, white plays queen e1, I castle. Finally, queen h4, and I end up throwing my knight into that central square. F5 is played, and yeah, I mean, white here, you know, kind of going for a Grand Prix attack type game here. When I take with the E pawn, again, guys, we're not taking with the G pawn. Okay, just leave that pawn there, please. I take with the E pawn so that, you know, my bishop can actually do its job and eye up that square. But now white doesn't capture back. They play bishop H6. I end up going, okay, I'll take another pawn. Why not? And white now plays very aggressively with the move of knight G5. Now, this is a mistake. This is just a straight up blunder. Black is now winning this game just off of one slip up. And even before that, black's position is better according to the engine, but knight G5, I mean, now it's -3 and some change. So, you know, I mean, this is just not going to work for white. That said, though, there's only 2 moves here for black that gives us one game. The rest of them are better for white. There's only 2 moves here that work, okay? And one of them is not taking that bishop, okay? It might be tempting. But then we see this move of bishop captures on G7, and we can't even capture back because we get checkmated. Not good, right? So here we got to play a move like H5. If we don't want to get mated, then we lose our rook, right? And now, I mean, white has the advantage, okay? They're not crushing per se, but it's going to be tough for black. So going back, right? Knight G5. At a certain point, you got to realize, okay, if I just keep taking stuff forever and ever and ever, I might get mated in a situation like this. I mean, this is a pretty common setup in the Grand Prix. What do you got to do? You got to bring a knight to this square, right? Either one works, okay? I think the computer actually likes knight D to F5. I play knight E to F5. Both of them are winning. But the idea here is that we're really attacking both the queen and the bishop with tempo, right? I play knight E F5, and the second that queen runs away, now I can just take that minor piece right off, right? I capture it. White takes on E4. I take again, right? First off, I mean, that's just a free piece. But second off, even if it wasn't, I'm trying to trade down because of 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm up material. And number 2, I'm being attacked. I am the one who is being attacked by white. So because of that, I want to trade down and kind of fizzle out all of the forces on the opponent's side. And on top of that, I'm up in material, right? You know, it's easier to want to fight 2-on-1 than it is 100 to 99, even though the difference of both is just 1, right? So if you're up material, you want to trade down. You know, here the GM goes to G4, and I play knight E3. Okay, just attacking the rook and the pawn as well. And yeah, I mean, the second that rook moves, I'm able to take on G4 with tempo. The queen moves, I play F5, starting to expand, defending the bishop, attacking the knight. Notice how everything is defended by something, right? Black's pieces here are pretty well coordinated. There's really not a weak spot. And, okay, I mean, if you take on D6, I play F4, which is what happened in the game. White throws in a check. I just play King G7, and here white resigns because white's already down 7 points in material. And the second that this queen moves somewhere, like G1, which is, by the way, the only safe space, I just take on D6. I'm now up 10 points in material with a move like Queen C6 check on the way, potentially. I mean, 10 points, crushing position for black. That's a ball game. Okay. But again, there's really, you know, when you look at this F4 and bishop D3 line, this might seem scary. Again, guys, we're not taking that, right, because of the check. This might seem scary, but you got to play knight E7. You got to really put a ton of focus on that F5 square. And then from that point, you're playing B6, you're castling, and you're keeping these guys here for quite a while. And you're going to start really putting more and more pressure on that D4 pawn. Okay, again, I cover all this kind of stuff in the course and more. You know, and yeah, if you're wanting to grow in your knowledge as a Hippo player, you know, I highly recommend considering the course. I mean, this is the opening that got me to Candidate Master and National Master by playing nothing but the Hippo, both colors. So this is something I really believe in, and yeah, I think it can help your game. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything coming our way. And on top of that, I wanted to give a big shout out to my Patreon supporters for the month of November in 2023. Big love to y'all. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, you can click on a link down in the description below, and in that, you will see all the benefits, including one in which we recently added, which is actually a once-a-month session with me, in which case we go over patrons' games. I'll see y'all in the next one.